Well guys, I'm finally doing it. I'm taking a look at the game that many people consider to be the greatest Sonic game of all time. I'm of course talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Hello everyone, and today, much like I said in my intro, I am taking a look at what many people consider to be the greatest Sonic game of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Now, I'm pretty sure you know the history of this game. Now, this game was originally intended to be one epic masterpiece of a video game, but due to time constraints and budgeting, they had to split it into two cartridges. The first being Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which came out in February of 1994 on Groundhog's Day, which they now called Hedgehog Day, and 8 months later you got Sonic and Knuckles, which came out on October 18th, 1994. If I'm wrong, please editor show the actual date in case I got that date wrong. But anyway, now there is something you should know. Due to legal issues regarding the game's soundtrack, which we will get to once we talk about the soundtrack of this game, but because of those legal issues, there have been barely any new re-releases of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Even Christian Whitehead couldn't make the game on the iOS or Android devices because of the legal issues. Heck, I was lucky enough to get this Sonic Mega Collection Plus, which had Sonic 3 and Knuckles on it, but it was a tedious slog since I had to go to the title screen of both Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles 20 times individually. And it got really annoying, and I even had to, do a checklist to make sure I had it at 20. Though, yeah. Now, we're going to take a look at this game as the way it was intended to be. Just Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. I know this might be hypocritical when I do Sonic 4 next time, where I just look at it as Sonic 4 Episode 1, then Episode 2, but I'll explain why when I get to that game. So, yeah. Let's begin the review as we take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. The story takes place immediately after Sonic 2, where after blowing up the Death Egg, a mysterious floating island known as Angel Island lands in the ocean. Sonic and Tails go to investigate, but Sonic wants this over as fast as possible, so he goes supersonic. And it's here where we get introduced to a brand new character in the series, Knuckles the Echidna, who uppercuts Supersonic so hard it sends the Chaos Emeralds right out of him. Then Knuckles grabs the emeralds, chuckles, and leaves. That is one of the coolest introductions to a character in any video game. Not only does this work visually, but this also works for two other reasons. Number one, it gives us a reason why we have to track down the Chaos Emeralds. Because as a kid, I was always confused. Why doesn't Sonic just hold on to them after going supersonic? To keep them for safekeeping in case of an emergency. But here we get an explanation because Knuckles took the Chaos Emeralds. In fact, the only other time I can think of as to why doesn't Sonic have the Chaos Emeralds after going super is in Sonic X, where they say after he goes super, the Chaos Emeralds are spread across the world, so Sonic has to refine them. And in Sonic Unleashed, where the Chaos Emeralds fell to Earth alongside Sonic, so they're in different parts of the world. And it also works because it sets up Knuckles as a great rival for Sonic. Other than the obvious being how their colors contrast one another, with Sonic being blue and Knuckles being red. But even so, throughout the game, Knuckles will halt your progress, sending Sonic to different parts of the zone, and also just, being a jerk. Though we do find out that he is working with Robotnik because Robotnik convinced him that Sonic and Tails are the bad guys trying to steal his most prized possession, the Master Emerald, which keeps Angel Island floating in the air and also is able to control the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds and gives them their power. It all comes together in Hidden Palace Zone, where after you fight Knuckles, Dr. Robotnik shows his true colors by taking the Master Emerald to help rebuild his Death Egg. Knuckles, seeing that he made a mistake, helps Sonic and Tails get to the Death Egg, and after you fight Dr. Robotnik one last time, and you have the very first supersonic final boss in a Sonic game, you restore the Master Emerald back to Angel Island, and everything goes back to the way it was. And there's a Knuckles story which takes place after the events of Sonic's, where Knuckles has to fight an Egg Robo from taking the Master Emerald, And it all leads into Sky Sanctuary Zone, where Knuckles has to fight the third Robot Sonic copy, that being Mecha Sonic, but I'll save that fight for later on in this review. Overall, the story for this game is great, and it's mostly helped because of the presentation of the in-game cutscenes. Though, I guess that leads us perfectly into the next segment of this review, the presentation. The game looks amazing, and even though at this point it has the most amount of levels in a Sonic game, I like how with every zone they each stand out from one another and they all look different. I also like how in the backgrounds of some of the stages, they can tell you something about what's happening. Like, for example, in Angel Island Zone, halfway through it, the level gets set on fire. It looks beautiful, but also tragic. Some other examples include how in Mushroom Hill Zone, you see that the weather changes, or how in Launch Base Zone, you see that the Death Egg is slowly being rebuilt, only to launch back into the air at the end of the level, and finally in Lava Reef, Act 2, where you see the Death Egg has been rebuilt again and erupts the entire level. One other thing I love about the presentation of the levels is how throughout the levels there are set pieces to them, such as dodging missiles in Angel Island, to the Earth rising in Marble Garden, to jumping from platform to platform over a bottomless pit of lava in Lava Reef, and my personal favorite, Sonic snowboarding in Ice Cap. I really like these set pieces. And if I were to talk about the character sprites real quick, I love these sprites for these characters. I know Scott the Woz pointed this out in his review of Sonic 3, but this was something I also noticed. I love how whenever Sonic runs, he just looks pissed. I don't know, I just find that funny. Tails looks adorable, Robotnik looks goofy, and Knuckles looks cool. I forgot to mention this in my story segment, so I'll mention it here. The reason why Knuckles was so easily tricked by Robotnik is because of the fact that Knuckles has been alone throughout the entirety of his life. That is because he is the only surviving member of the Echidna tribe. What happened to the other members of the tribe? Well, according to the manual, they were wiped out because they tried to abuse the power of the Master Emerald, so I guess that Knuckles was at daycare while his parents were killed.
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
The official artwork for all the characters looked great as well, with my personal favorite being the European one for Knuckles because of how dumb he looks.
Shut up!
Jerk.
Now, back to the main reason why the character sprites are so well done is mainly because of the cutscenes. The game's cutscenes really emphasize how great the character animation is throughout the game, because you can tell how the characters are feeling purely from the visuals alone. It reminds me how in The Lion King, you can tell how the characters are feeling purely from the animation, even when you don't have audio on. And it's one of the main reasons why The Lion King remake was god-awful. And we also see the level transition between the zones, so that means we get an actual explanation for why the characters are in those zones. It's a small detail, but I love it. Now don't get me wrong, while yes, Sonic 2 did show the transitions between Sky Chase to Wing Fortress and Wing Fortress to Death Egg, here, it's like that throughout the entire game in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I absolutely love it. As per the soundtrack, it's incredible. First off, there are some in-house composers who worked a lot on the soundtrack, so we'll put a list real quick of those people. Then there's two other people that we should mention, that being Jun Sonoy, who from this game onwards would become one of the main composers for Sega and Sonic, and of course, Michael Jackson. But because of his involvement of the game, it's one of the main reasons why we aren't allowed to play Sonic 3 and Knuckles as one game nowadays. My favorite songs on the Sonic 3 side of the game are Angel Island Zone, Hydrocity Zone, Launch Base Zone, the final boss theme, and my favorite song in the entire game, Ice Cap Zone. Dear God, that song is incredible. And if I'm gonna be honest, I do prefer the Sonic 3 side of the soundtrack more. Now, don't get me wrong, the Sonic and Knuckles side of the soundtrack is incredible. Some of my favorites include Flying Battery, Lava Reef, and Sky Sanctuary. Overall, the soundtrack alone is incredible, and I wish I can talk about each song for as long as I want, but we would be here all day, and we would also get a copyright strike if we did, so let's just move on to the gameplay. Starting off, the game has a save feature, which is important, seeing how the other Sonic games at this point. In order to play on the Genesis, you had to turn it off if you had to leave, and when you came back, there was no save feature, so you had to restart from scratch. But with this, it saves your progress, and you can continue where you left off, even if you turned off the system. That's really cool. And it also lets you select which character you want to play as, those being Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. But there are 4 different ways to play the game, those being Sonic and Tails, Sonic alone, Knuckles alone, and Tails alone. Now, despite having 3 characters to play as in this game, they each do have their similarities with one another. First off, they can all use the spin dash and bounce into enemies, and they can all use the 3 shields that have been added to this game, the elemental shields. Those being the flame shield, the water shield, and the lightning shield. They're all very self-explanatory on what they protect you from. The flame shield protects you from fire, so it makes lava reef easier. The water shield prevents the character from drowning. And the lightning shield attracts rings and protects the character from rare electric attacks. This is where the characters start to have their differences. As with Sonic, he doesn't have an air ability like, say, Tails or Knuckles. So instead, when he uses the elemental shields, he has a new ability with them. With the flame shield, it gives him a boost, sort of like his homing attack and his boost that he has nowadays. With the water shield, it gives him a bounce attack. And with the lightning shield, it gives him a simple double jump. On his own, Sonic controls just like he did in the past few games, except no super peel out this time around. But instead, he has a new ability called the Insta Shield. By pressing the jump button in midair, a shield will pop around Sonic for a split second. This means that Sonic will be invincible to anything, so it makes bouncing into enemies with spikes on them easier to destroy. With Tails, he's the easy mode of the game, since he can fly in the air for a long period of time, but he will tire out after a bit, though this can be useful in the Sonic and Tails feature, since Tails can help Sonic reach higher places, and he can also swim. Only really useful in Hydrocity Zone, though I find it funny that Tails is 8 years old and Sonic is 16, but Tails is actually able to swim. No wonder Sonic got bullied by 5-year-olds.
No! I can't swim! Those 5-year-olds were right! Cruel, but right.
That just leaves us with Knuckles, who, while he can't jump as high as, say, Sonic or Tails, he makes up for it by being able to glide through midair and being able to climb up walls like Spider-Man. And he also has different pathways compared to Sonic or Tails. So while it's the same zone, they feel different since, again, Knuckles has different routes. One of my favorites is how, at the start of Hydrocity Zone, while yes, you can go the way Sonic and Tails went, because of the fact that Knuckles can climb up walls, you can actually use that to go up and explore a different pathway. That's brilliant, and I love how with all 3 of these characters, while I do have their similarities and differences, they are each a combination of speed, platforming, and exploration, and that is just beautiful thanks to the level design. It's also good because this is easily the longest 2D Sonic game, alongside Sonic Mania, but since these 3 characters control so well, it felt like the game was never dragging itself out, and it felt like the first 3 games in terms of pacing. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you collect the Chaos Emeralds in this game? Do you do the 50 ring requirement and then go into a checkpost like the previous games? Well, no. Instead, it's all about finding special rings hidden throughout the zones with no ring requirements. So that means you can go into a special ring without having any rings and you'll still be able to go to the special stage. Though, if I'm being honest, I am confused with how Knuckles does it, since seeing how Sonic had to recollect them in his side of the story along with Tails, it makes me wonder, since Knuckles takes place after the events of Sonic's, does this mean that Sonic just left the Chaos Emeralds on Angel Island? As for these special stages, these are easily the best special stages in the entire series. They are called the Blue Sphere stages, where you need to collect the amount of blue spheres in each stage in order to get the Chaos Emerald. But it's not that easy, because as you collect more and more blue spheres, your character becomes faster and faster, and you need to be careful with where you turn your character, because there are red spheres in the stage, and if you touch one, you fail. Doesn't help, since whenever you touch a blue sphere, it becomes a red one. There is a way to counteract this, however, by turning blue spheres into rings. Now, just note, you can't turn every blue sphere into a ring. It only works for a select few. Like, for example, in this clip, you can see that there's a grid of rings. When you have your character circle around it, all of them will turn into rings that you can collect. If you collect all the rings in these stages alongside all the blue spheres, you will get a perfect, which grants you a continue, which is kind of pointless, seeing how with this game you have a save feature, but that's besides the point, as like in Sonic 2, once you collect all the 7 Chaos Emeralds, you get Super Sonic and Super Knuckles. But no Super Tails for some reason, that's odd. But to make sure that the Sonic and Knuckles part of the game isn't too easy for the player, once you get to Mushroom Hill Zone, the Chaos Emeralds will be taken away from your character. Why is that? Well, if you get all of the Chaos Emeralds before Launch Base Zone, and once you arrive in Mushroom Hill Zone, you'll see a quick cutscene depending on which character you play as. With Sonic and Tails, you see Knuckles looking very suspicious as he closes a door. And once you open it, you go through and see a giant multicolored ring and jump into it. With Knuckles, however, once you get to Mushroom Hill Zone, you will run straight into it. Seriously, you can't miss it at all. For some reason, it reminds me a lot of the leg upgrade in Mega Man X. Though after you jump into this giant ring, you will see a cutscene at the Master Emerald Shrine where the Chaos Emeralds become Super Emeralds. And it's your job to find 7 more rings in order to get into these special stages, where once again, they're blue spheres. Though, I should bring this up real quick, the Super Emeralds are exclusive to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Also, one thing that is interesting with these special stages in the Sonic and Knuckles part of the game, you actually get to decide which blue sphere stage you want to go to. Since whenever you go into a giant ring, you're taken to the Master Emerald Shrine, and again, you get a level selection of which one you would like to go to. This is actually pretty nice. Though after you beat 7 more of these blue sphere stages, you unlock the ability to go into Hypersonic, Hyper Knuckles, and Super Tails. With Hypersonic, he's pretty much the same as Supersonic, except he is multicolored, though he is mostly silver, can run a lot faster, seeing how he can leave a trail behind him. Wait, no, not just 1 trail, but 2, and when you press the jump button twice, he unleashes a screen nuke, destroying every badnik on screen. And also, he can even be able to breathe underwater, though he can still die by falling into bottomless pits and being crushed. With Hyper Knuckles, it's pretty much the exact same thing. He can run a lot faster, he climbs walls faster, and can glide faster. And when he collides with a wall during a glide, it causes an earthquake that destroys every badnik on screen. And I forgot to mention this, but Super Knuckles and Hyper Knuckles are both bright colored pink. I'll admit, I was always confused on why it took Super Emeralds for Tails to go Super instead of the regular Chaos Emeralds, but getting Super Tails is really rewarding since with this new form, Tails can run faster, fly faster, and even go farther reaches, and he has what has been dubbed the Flicky Army of Death, which will attack anything on screen, and when you're doing a boss fight, will do the fighting for you. Seriously, just look at this footage. I am not doing anything, and the boss is being destroyed. Wow, these forms are giving Giorno a run for his money in terms of being OP. Unlike Sonic 2, you actually get the option whether or not you want to go into these forms, because instead of just taking 1 jump to go super, it takes 2 jumps. I'll admit, the only time it bothered me was with Knuckles and Tails, since in order to glide and climb up walls as Knuckles, or fly in the air as Tails, you do have to do a double jump. That's the only time I ever felt like I was being forced to transform into these new forms. Though there is a way to turn these off. By having 20 or so rings, go to a checkpost, and you'll see it all sparkly, jump into it, and you'll go into one of 3 bonus stages. The first one I'm going to talk about is one where you have to move around, which reminds me a lot of the Sonic 1 special stage, where there's a casino themed where you have to go into in order to collect rings. With the second one, it's all about bouncing from bumpers in order to collect items, and with the third and final one, it's all about using these electric spears to go around. Once you are done, you are brought back to the level as your regular form, and there is an actual way to speed up the process to go super or hyper. That being, find a giant ring, go into it, and you will collect 50 rings automatically, so that way you can go into super or hyper. Now, on to the levels themselves. Before I talk about them individually, I will talk about 2 other things that I want to get off my chest real quick. The first one being, at the end of each Act 1, there is a mini-boss, and in general with the bosses, while yes, some are pretty easy, these are easily the best lineup of bosses in the entire classic era of Sonic. Though I will be talking about the important bosses as we go through the levels. And after you defeat Act 1's boss, Act 2 immediately begins without any cut to blacks like in the previous games when it came to going to a different active zone. Starting off, we have Angel Island Zone. Immediately, this zone gets bonus points because unlike Palm Tree Panic or Emerald Hill Zone, this isn't a copy of Green Hill Zone, and instead is a more jungle-themed level, and it's a really good zone to start off this game. And as stated earlier, I do like the whole jungle on fire background in the middle of Act 1 and in Act 2. On to Hydro City Zone, or Hydrocity Zone, whatever name you prefer. For this is a water level, and it's actually really good. The water is actually fun to go through in this zone, and it isn't that big of a problem. I even like the whole fans and circly tops, and I even like how there's these things you need to climb up on. It's pretty fun. In fact, this zone also confirms that Sonic is able to run on water. Though I do have two issues with this zone. Number one being the piranha enemies when you're underwater, because if they touch you, you cannot spin dash or jump, meaning that you will die since it slowly diminishes your ring count, and since you can't grab the water bubbles with these things on you, that means you will die by drowning as well. So you'll just be standing there reenacting the death scene from Spy Kids 3D. Does anyone remember that movie other than me? The other thing that annoys me about Hydrocity Zone is at the start of Act 2, where you have to be quick or else you will be crushed. And sometimes when you're trying to spin dash through the doors, I always got crushed by accident sometimes, and it just got annoying after a while. Oh, and throughout the level, there are parts where you will be stopped by these hand things that grab you, and because of that, you'll be able to move a lot faster. So that's one of the reasons why Sonic is able to run on water. Anywho, time to look at Marble Garden Zone. I'll admit, this and the next zone are the weakest zones in the Sonic 3 half of the game, but they're still pretty good. With Marble Garden Zone, it is a lot different from Marble Zone in Sonic 1. For one, you don't need to worry about lava or the caterpillars, and instead you have to worry about these spinning tops that will help you get through the level and even be able to break through certain barriers. Though this is something that I do have slight issue with. Some of them can be destroyed with the top, but others can be destroyed with the spin dash, so sometimes it just gets confusing. And as stated beforehand, there are parts of the level where the earth will shake and you will have to be fast in order to not get crushed. Oh, and in the boss fight, I do like how Tails helps out Sonic by being the thing that carries him in the air. Next up is Carnival Night Zone. For starters, I just find it funny there's this random carnival on Angel Island. It makes me wonder, did the Echidna tribe go here before they were all wiped out? Even though it seems out of nowhere, the level looks great and is fun to play through. Now, let's talk about the infamous barrels in this part of the level. Many people got stuck here, though it's pretty easy. All you need to do is just press up and down. Up and down. It's not that hard. But anyway, this is still a pretty fun level in this game. Now we get to talk about my favorite level in the entire game, Ice Cap Zone. This level is perfection. I absolutely adore it. From its music, to its aesthetic, to just everything. I have zero issues with this level. You think that it would have the usual problems with ice levels in video games, mainly the ice physics, but here, there are no problems like that, and it's just so much fun to play through. I can play this level for an entire day and not get bored of it. In fact, one of my favorite parts about playing this level is having Supersonic touch one of the lightning shields and running past the level and collecting rings. Sure, yes, you can do that with every other zone in the game, but for here, it just feels a lot more fun. And I love how this zone was brought back in Sonic Adventure. Though it makes me wonder, Sega, you did a perfect ice level in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, then 20 years later, you make Frozen Factory in Sonic Lost World, which is terrible. Dear God, I hate that level. We'll get to that level once we get to Sonic Lost World. But, anywho, let's just finish out the Sonic 3 part of the game with Launch Base Zone. And I must say, for this zone, it's a pretty good level. I don't have much issues with it, though I will admit at some points I did get lost, but it was still fun. Though, for the boss of Act 2, one thing I think is interesting is that in the original version of Sonic 3, the final phase was Big Arms, which was reused in Sonic Generations for the 3DS. But in Sonic 3K, when you play this boss as, say, Sonic or Tails, you don't get Big Arms at all, and instead it only happens when you play as Knuckles. That's odd but interesting. But at the end of this zone, you see the Death Egg is destroyed and crashes down once again. But we're not done, as we have 8 more zones to talk about. Starting off with the first zone in Sonic & Knuckles, that being Mushroom Hill Zone.
I hate mushrooms.
Not much to say here other than making an obvious Mario joke, but I must say this is a pretty fun zone and is really good. And again, I must compliment the whole season change in Act 1 to Act 2. And I got all the Super Emeralds with Knuckles in this level. Flying Battery is also a pretty good stage. And I also will admit, I do get reminded of Wing Fortress Zone from Sonic 2, but I think that's because of the fact that both levels are on Robotnik's airships. But still, this is a pretty good level, and in terms of platforming, I think this level does it the best in this game. And I find it humorous that in Act 2's boss fight, it's pretty much a repeat of Wing Fortress's boss, except the laser destroys the boss for you. And you had the second phase where if you have a super form, which I have all the super emeralds at this point in the game, I just have to stand there and let Dr. Robotnik ram himself into me. And I also really like the whole flinging off propellers in this zone. It's pretty fun. Sandopolis is pretty underrated. I don't really see the hate for this level outside of one thing in Act 2. For Act 1, I really like how it's all about the outside of the pyramid, while in Act 2, it's all about the inside of the pyramid. Though I will admit the ghost can get annoying, though I do like how in Act 2's boss, it's called the Egg Golem, which was brought back in Sonic Adventure 2. Lava Reef is easily my second favorite zone in the entire game. In fact, I'll admit there are some times where I do prefer it over Ice Cap Zone, but still, it's a very, very close in my opinion. It's such a great stage, and while yes, the lava can get annoying, because of the fire shield, it's really easy, and I don't mind it at all. In fact, I even love how there's a part where I can have Hypersonic fly over the lava. It's so cool, and it's such a blast to play through. Wait, no, do not spoil Daniel that. We need to tell him that when we watch Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay.
No!
Daniel, forget what I said.
No!
I have several questions.
No! Then there's Hidden Palace Zone, which I like to see as a Act 3 to Lava Reef, seeing how it looks almost identical to Act 2 of Lava Reef. But still, it's easily the hardest zone in any Sonic game. Literally, look at this. There are no enemies to fight, and it's just me going through a straight hallway. So hard! But it's here where we have our rematch with Knuckles, and since you have all the Super Emeralds at this point, you can easily get some revenge on him, and it's just so satisfying to take him down. And pay very close attention to the background of this boss fight, because it will be very important later on. And this is where Knuckles becomes our ally, leading us into Sky Sanctuary Zone. This zone is absolutely beautiful to look at. I'm not joking, it looks amazing. And in terms of platforming, this easily is a very strong contender for the best platforming in the game alongside Flying Battery, as it's your job to reach the top of Sky Sanctuary in order to head to the Death Egg Zone. And it's here where we get introduced to Mecha Sonic, who, if you're like me, you probably were first exposed to him because of the Flash series, Super Mario Bros. Z. And while he was awesome in that Flash series, in this game, for the most part, he just reuses old bosses from Sonic 1 and 2, and on his own, he's pretty easy when you're playing as Sonic, since you can use the Insta-Shield and even use the Super Emeralds to go hypersonic. But since he's the final boss of Knuckles' story, he can be a lot more challenging since he absorbs the power of the Master Emeralds in order to turn into Super Mecha Sonic, and because of that he uses moves like Aerial Ace from Pokemon and Energy Balls. So you need to strike him at the right time when he's no longer in his super form, but be careful since that only lasts for about 3 seconds, so bounce into him when that happens. Next up is Death Egg Zone. Instead of just being a hallway with 2 boss fights, it's a fully realized level, and it's pretty fun, if a bit hard, since this is technically the last level in the game. And remember how I said earlier on when it came to the lightning shield, you'll need it for rare electric attacks? Well, that will happen in this stage only, so make sure you have the lightning shield equipped at all times, and it's a pretty good zone. My only complaint is the parts with the stupid elevators, since I don't know why, but I just lose control sometimes. But though for the boss fight, it is pretty easy since you just need to bounce into the Master Emerald, but be careful as the laser blast will kill you, and since you're on a platform that will fall off, you need to be careful where you're standing, so just be careful. And you can use the Insta Shield to block the laser blast from you. After that, you're in the final zone of the game, Doomsday Zone, which is a super/hypersonic exclusive stage. So that means Knuckles has 12 levels, Tails has 13, and Sonic has 14, meaning that Sonic has the most amount of stages in the entire game. For Doomsday Zone, it's a 2-act final boss, and is the start of the Super Form final bosses. Though for this final boss, the first phase is all about collecting rings before having to send missiles into the cockpit in order to destroy it. Though you need to be very careful about your ring count, so collect as many rings as possible because if you run out, you will die. And in the second phase, if you are low on rings, don't worry. When you're charging into the final boss, the game will have rings for you to collect, so that way it wouldn't be too hard. After you ram into the final boss enough times, you will finish the game off, saving the Master Emerald and putting Angel Island back in its place. I have talked about the ending, though make sure you do collect all the Super Emeralds, because if you do, you will get the perfect ending of the game. And I like how in the ending, you have all 3 of the characters by the logo, though with the character you played as in the middle of it. It's very nice. With the extra stuff, I barely touched it since my brother won't play with me, but still, it's mostly a racing competition with 5 original zones, which is pretty cool. Now, if I'm being honest, guys, even though we're about to end the Classic series, this might be the high point of this Sonic review marathon. While I do like future games that we'll be getting to, such as Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Heroes, Unleashed, Black Knight, and many more, this might be the high point of this review marathon. This is a game that is near perfection in my opinion, and I love this game to death. It has everything I want in a video game. It has a grand and epic storyline, amazing gameplay, great and fun levels, a fantastic soundtrack, and so much more to offer. I can play this game all the time and never get bored. It is up there for a contender for my favorite game of all time, alongside games such as Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Pokemon Platinum, and Fire Emblem Awakening. This game is a masterpiece, and as a Sonic fan, you owe it to yourself to play this game. This game gets my highest recommendation and the highest rating I could give a game. This game gets a 10 out of 10. It is a pure masterpiece. Now, with that being said, while next time I would take a look at Sonic Adventure, since it will take me a while to refinish that game for the review, next time we meet, we will be taking a look at Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Sonic 4 Episode 2. See you guys in the next review, and I hope you all enjoyed. Take care.